downward dog with hip strengthener. This combines the down dog and 2, 3, or 4, depending on what you want to do, different variations of hip strengtheners and stabilizers. So we'll get into down dog position. So again, you're in inverted V. Get those hips pressed back into your legs. Engage your abs, draw in your navel, press into your back. Now from here, I'll demonstrate with the left leg. You'll go into hip extension, then come up and go into hip flexion. Bring that knee to your chest. That's number 2. Third is go into hip abduction. Point that toe, flex your foot, and then go into hip adduction, AD, and go over. And then back to down dog. On the right side, hip extension, hip flexion, knee comes to your chest, hip abduction, flex your foot, point your toe, and then hip adduction, AD, come underneath. So let's break that down. So you have options if you don't want to do all 4, or if you're still working on your hip stability and hip flexibility. So we'll break it down. Starting downward dog. Hip extension. And just alternate. Once you have your hip extension, go into hip extension, and from there, hip flexion. And then you can alternate. Hip extension, and then hip flexion. Knee to chest. And back to down dog. Alright, now let's add the abduction. So hip extension, flexion, and then abduction or external rotation. And then back. On the right side, hip extension, flexion, and external rotation, flexing your foot and pointing your toe. So now to do all 4, we throw in that adduction or that internal hip rotation. So again, you're down dog, extension, flexion. Point your toe, flex your foot for abduction, and then internally rotate for adduction. Right side, hip extension, flexion, abduction, adduction. So, depending on where you are and how flexible your hips are, you may want to start with just the hip extension, and then, like I demonstrated, go into hip flexion, then add the abduction, and then later add the adduction. It's a great way to strengthen and stabilize your hips. Especially, this is especially important for women as we grow older, because we want strong bones, especially in our core and our back. So the way to do that is to strengthen your muscles that surround your hips and your core. So have fun. That's one of my favorite activities, actually, so I hope you like it as much as I do.